What is up, everybody, and welcome to the All-NBA show powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com/All-NBA. I'm your host, Adam Mares. I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Tim Legler. Legs, these might be the two best series in each conference going on right now. We got them both last night, and they both came down to the wire.
Both came down to the wire, and yeah, I agree with you. These two series, the two most compelling. Now they got 2 games each. So that helps because we'll see what's in store for some of these other series in game 2, right? I mean, Lakers, Minnesota should be pretty amazing tonight and see what the Lakers' response is to that. I think Bucks, Pacers is going to get real interesting if Dame comes back. But these two series have 2 games in, and both games in both series have been unbelievable drama. And look, man, Detroit Pistons are a team we've talked about a lot this year. I've loved everything I've seen about them. And what they have done with the Knicks now in 2 games with this super young team going into Madison Square Garden in that environment against, a team that's got some guys that have been around the block a little bit has been so impressive. They were in control of game 1. They melted down in the fourth quarter. Knicks go on the big run and they win that game. So you're wondering, like, what's the Pistons' response going to be to that? Like, they're psychologically. What is that going to feel like when you blow a lead like that and your offense is that bad down the stretch? What is that going to feel like leading into game 2? I think we got our answer, man. They came out and they absolutely controlled the first quarter of this game. And that told me a lot about where they were. And it told me a lot about Cade Cunningham's response, man. This is the Cade Cunningham we've watched all year. He did not have a great game 1 in his first taste of the playoffs. And you saw last night, if you haven't been watching the Pistons very much and you watched this game, I think Cade Cunningham represented what he's been all year.
100%, man. That's where we have to start. You said they were good coming out, and I agree. I'm not trying to reduce this to just one player, but Cade Cunningham was great coming out. This was an incredible game from him. Because I watched it this morning, and I'm covering the Nuggets game last night, so I didn't get to watch this one live. So I'm watching it this morning in my house by myself, and I'm screaming throughout the first quarter, second quarter, fourth quarter. I'm screaming at these plays because I'm like, so blown away at the poise, the tempo, just the control he had over it, the shot making, because some of these were like tough shots that he shot in rhythm and with confidence. He was so unbelievably in control of the rhythm of this game. And he was, and this is not hyperbole, not prisoner of the moment, because I know Brunson does his thing. He was the best player on the court by far, I thought, yesterday. That's how dominant he was. And to me, it was like a ceiling raising performance. Not in that it's the best game he's ever played, but that when you see him do it on that stage in that moment and then do it in the pressure cooker, you go, okay, that guy is able to dominate a game with other superstars on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, look, going in, you and I said it, that Cade Cunningham had a chance to be the best player in this series. And some people probably scoffed at that because Jalen Brunson has been an all-league player. He's a guy that got some MVP consideration in this league. And he's a guy that just most people look at as being on a completely different profile than Cade Cunningham. That's fine because Brunson's done it now for 3 years. So you kind of like, okay, you want to give him a tip of your cap because he's done it longer. But it has nothing to do with what's going to happen now. Cade Cunningham he showed you last night what the guy's done all year. And the fact that he didn't play well in the first game, didn't shoot well, had too many turnovers, he's responsible really for that team and how they navigate tight spots. He's their leader. He's their best player, and he's their point guard. So that really does, a lot of that falls in his lap. So I know he was disappointed with himself and his team. And what's the answer to that? Come out. If you're in that position again, get it done. And they did. And he really set the tone from the beginning. And it told me a lot about him, man. I love the words you use, poise. That's a great word. Tempo. That's so true about him. He has a very Luka type pace about his game. Very much so, but without all of the other distractions, right? You don't see him winding up the court every time with, in the ear of an official. He doesn't go to the rim and not get a call, and then he's the last guy up the floor defensively. Like, Luka's a great, great offensive talent. In some ways, you might say he's the most unstoppable single offensive talent in the NBA. But Cade Cunningham plays with a very similar pace to his game. It's size, it's strength, it's feel, it's taking your time, never doing something you don't want to do, never releasing the ball before you're ready. But then some of that other stuff that like is a distraction when you watch Luka, you don't have any of that with Cade. Stoic face. He's clearly the leader of the team. You see some of the comments these guys have made about him, and how much he's endeared himself to them because he's such a great teammate. And you saw his response in a big spot, man. The guy was not fazed by what happened in game one, by the environment of the Garden. Even when the Knicks came back and tied the game with about a minute to go in this game, they come back and Shooter hits the big shot. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
But they didn't wilt again. And you felt like, oh man, is this going to happen to these guys again? They've controlled the game 2 games in a row. They can't leave here down 0-2 with as well as they've played. And sure enough, they didn't, man. It's 1-1 headed back to Detroit, and they got 2 games back there in an environment that's going to be crazy.
I want to circle back to the end of the game because that really was the difference. Just the last 3 possessions from each team was the difference in this game when it got tight. But one other thing I want to say about Cade, actually a couple things. One, you mentioned him, compared him to Luka, and I think it's a good comp in this way. Most people think of beating your guy one-on-one as the first step. You have a quick first step. You beat him, and you keep him on your hip or whatever, and you get to the basket. Cade, like Luka, is a guy who has a great last step in that he'll kind of walk you to the side, walk you to this side, go, and then it's not because he's not quick enough to do anything else, but then he'll give you just a little shimmy, a little something, and then be able to beat you with that. And he's so good at it. And because of that, that skill is almost more valuable especially late in games than the first step, because you could control the tempo. You're not going, and now I just have to react to however the defense rotates. It's I'm going to walk, I'm going to run the clock to where I want, and now I just need one quick little jab or something to get open for my shot. And he put on a clinic of that last night. It's such a weapon, and he is as good as the best in the league at that specific skill, the last step.
He has also another thing that he does, man. He's got the ability to get these soft shots up there when he's got somebody on him at a weird angle. He releases the ball so softly, whether it's off the glass or he floats it over the front of the rim. And it's like, even though he's under immense pressure because he's got typically an elite defender on him, somebody usually with size and athleticism, he gets multiple guys around him when he drives to the rim. He's not like, it's not like at any part does it seem to come into his vision. He's so focused on finishing the play. Like he's not somebody you can rattle, not somebody you can like force to release the ball too high or whatever it may be. And it's just like this great quality about him, man. He's always completely under control. And it's like probably the first thing that I noticed about him really last year to a certain extent, but it came all into focus this year because they started winning. So you started to notice it more. And that to me is his best quality, that he has this ability to just play at exactly the same type of pace the entire game. And he does not seem to be affected by whatever defense is put in front of him, man. And that's what great players in this league have to do. He needed to be a calming force for his team yesterday. If Cade Cunningham comes out and he misses his first 4 or 5, or he struggles in the first quarter, he has a couple of turnovers, I guarantee you the Pistons are probably down 6-8, and it's going to be 2-0 going back to Detroit. He came out as you needed to do in that environment, because when that place, well, you could feel that coming through the TV. It was out of control, bonkers in that building. He took all of that noise and he just embraced it and said, "No, I got this, guys. Let me come out here as our best player and set the tone for our entire team. We're not going to be rattled by this." And man, did that calm everybody down. And then, Adam, it comes down to making the plays in the last 3 minutes. And I think that's where you want to go next.
Well, the only other thing, and then I'll toss it to you on that point on the end of the game, but the only other thing I'd say is that I thought this game got close 2 different times and 2 different runs that the Knicks were able to make. And both of them were times when they went away from Cade. And I think this is the difficulty when you have a heliocentric player like Cade. They can take on the full burden. Every time, give it to him, let him operate. Everybody stands around and watches and does their thing. And that was working in this game. But there was one point when the game really got close in the second half. They went 6 straight possessions without Cade Cunningham touching the ball. 0 points off of that stretch. And it's almost like we don't want to just become too predictable. So let's get the ball. Let's let Schroeder operate. Let's let other guys operate. And it was just empty possession after empty possession. And so that balance, I think, is going to be tough, because they are best if they just give it to him and let him orchestrate everything, but you don't want to be too one-dimensional. But on to the fourth quarter, or to the clutch, one difference that the Knicks made is they threw OG Anunoby on Cade. Cade played an enormous amount of minutes in this game. He played 42. I don't believe he rested in the second half. And I think the physicality of OG and just the fatigue factor of Cade was just enough to be a slight limiting factor, in my opinion, down the game, where it was like, okay, Cade's now at 90% of what he was in the first half.
Well, one thing that Cade had the benefit of, he had another guy that's a high-level player as an offensive player in this league that you can give the ball to and trust to make a shot, make a play, read a ball screen. I'm talking about Dennis Schroeder. So I want to talk about the biggest sequence of the game. So Josh Hart gets the dunk, and he actually should have been an and one. The Pistons were very fortunate.
100%.
He definitely got hit on that dunk. And just think, so you're talking about 1:15 left. It ties the game. I've got news for you. If they call that foul and Josh Hart converts that, it's a completely different feeling coming up the floor with 1:15 left down one, as it is tied. Just mentally, you're feeling like, hey, if neither team scores the last 75 seconds, we're going to overtime. When you're down one, you have to score again. So the pressure that you feel is just different. So they didn't call the foul. They missed it. Now here come the Pistons up the floor, and that's the play on which Schroeder hits the three. If you go back and watch it, this is 100% on Jalen Brunson.
I have it in my notes. Yep.
He fails to switch, and you could see the reaction on Josh Hart when Schroeder makes the shot. Josh Hart turns and looks at him like, what are you doing? So they switched once already on the play, and it put Brunson on Tobias Harris. That was the first switch. So Josh Hart jumps out, and now he's guarding the ball. And now Brunson's got Tobias Harris, and Tobias Harris is more of a mid-range player, so he sort of goes into the mid-post, and Brunson's got his arm around him, and they're wrestling a little bit. And then Schroeder calls Tobias Harris out to go reset a ball screen. So now he's going to come off. Josh Hart hands off Schroeder to Brunson. Problem is, Brunson is 10 feet back from the three-point line. Like, at least. Schroeder just comes off, gets his feet set, and give the guy all the credit in the world, because I don't care how open you are. That is a shot with an incredible amount of pressure. You missed that shot. Knicks come down, man. They probably win that game. Schroeder hits the three, all because Jalen Brunson completely failed his team defensively because he was too far back on the switch, and Josh Hart turned and motioned to him immediately when the ball went through the net. Josh Hart's like, what? If that's what you're going to do, I'll just stay on him and I'll fight over the pick. That's probably what he's thinking. We're in switch defense. Brunson unaware, too far back. Schroeder gets an uncontested look at a critical time in the game, and to his credit, he buried it.
And it was a tough shot, because you're 100% right. I have it in my notes. That was the play. And that's a guard-to-guard screen that you get 40 times a game. It's not like this is something, I'm supposed to step up on this time. Every time you should attack that so that you don't get a clean look, and then it becomes a switch. And he just, for whatever reason, was on his heels. I just think he was on his heels. Like, he wasn't ready for that moment. So when it happened, he was a second late. But you're almost underselling how tough that shot is. I know you were talking about the pressure cooker. He got that shot up really quickly, and that was part of it, because Brunson was on his heels, but he did read it eventually and try to step up. Schroeder only had a second to get that shot, to get in rhythm and get that shot off, and he just did it perfectly. And that was a huge one. And then on the other way, you come down, and I thought Brunson, they didn't need a three. There was enough time in the game that you can attack. And I thought that he just ISO'd for a three on that play that we were like, man, is that the best shot you're going to get in this moment? And of course he missed it.
You're down three with 55 seconds to go, and you come up the floor and you take a step back three without anybody else touching the ball without a screen. Heavily contested, by the way. He tried to fall to the ground. He was trying to sell something, sell a call. He didn't get it. But there's no reason whatsoever to force a three. Now, look, if you come down and run some action, you run a high ball screen and you get trapped, swing it back to Towns, he shoots a three, or one more pass and the guy's got a toed up three. Yeah, sure. Why not? But that's not what they were doing. Brunson hunted that shot. You're down three with 55 seconds left in the game. There is an eternity in the game. Get two. They're not going to want to foul you. I'd much rather see you get something going to the rim. They're probably going to, half-heartedly contest because they don't want to put you on the line in that situation. Shorten the game. Cut it to one. More opportunities. You can but if you score within the first 10 seconds and there's 45 seconds left and you're down one, you don't even have to foul. Get a stop and then run it back the other way and just run your normal stuff. So I thought absolutely right. That was 9 seconds later. He shoots a step back three, right? So you're right over half court. No one else touched the ball. Very difficult shot. He falls down when he does it. That to me was the biggest sequence. Shooters make, Brunson's miss. Now, as it turns out, they came back down the floor and I think they turned that's right. Beasley misses a clean
wide
left
open
corner look. Right. And look, I don't think it was pressure or anything. I don't think Beasley's affected by that. He just missed it. It was short. He makes that, they're up 6, game over. Misses it. So now here come the Knicks down again. And I still think, by the way, when Beasley missed that, Adam, there's 22 seconds left when Bridges rebounds the ball. You still don't have to take a three. There's so much time to take that to the rim. They come down. Brunson sort of drives the left wing and throws it back out to the top of the key for Bridges for a three-point shot. And he was like leaning, falling to the left. He really wasn't on balance when he shot it. But
he was open.
No, it was a decent look, but he didn't catch it on balance where he was like, he kind of drifted to the left. It was almost like he shot it like there was 5 seconds left in the game, is my point. Right. He didn't catch it and shoot that like we got a lot of time here. I just think 2 opportunities, you have a chance to get that thing to the rim or get something maybe at the line, and you cut it to a 1-point game with a lot of time left. And they didn't put pressure on the Pistons to have to execute anything. All they had to do was rebound long 3-point shots a couple of times. They did it. Of course, Schroeder makes one more free throw at the end of the game, and that's that. And so the Pistons, who completely, just absolutely collapsed in game 1 offensively when the Knicks went on that 21-0 run, this time they had a couple of dicey possessions in there, but at the same time, they made the biggest shot of the game, Dennis Schroeder, and then they got a couple of stops that the Knicks helped them out with by not making them work too hard defensively. And now Detroit leaves there 1-1. And it feels like to me that's justice based on the way the Knicks played over 2 games. They should be leaving there 1-1. If they were down 0-2, the way they played those 2 games, the basketball gods wouldn't have been looking out for them. They earned at least 1 win in New York, and they got it.
I think that both of the games yesterday, both of the series deserve to be 1-1. They're just so even. Both teams have played so well. Both teams have played well enough to win 1 game, and both series are 1-1. So I think it's appropriate. 2 guys I want to shout out, though. I thought Ausar Thompson, I know that Jalen Brunson goes off for 37 points. He took 27 shots to get there. And I thought Ausar Thompson just did a lot of really good stuff defensively, not just on Brunson, but overall to disrupt the Knicks. I mean, they only had 94 points. That's impressive. But the guy I really want to shout out is Tobias Harris. 15 points, 13 rebounds. And the way they're guarding them is they're putting Tobias Harris on Karl-Anthony Towns. I thought he did a phenomenal job defensively against that matchup in a way that if I'm the Knicks, I probably look at that and say, okay, Cat needs to own that matchup. That could be a pressure point. Tobias Harris, I thought, won the battle. When you talk about what's expected from Karl-Anthony Towns and what's expected from Tobias Harris, he owned that one-on-one matchup.
Listen, I'm so glad you're pointing out Tobias Harris. I'm so happy for the guy. I really am, man. Yep. First of all, he's an absolute professional. You ask anybody that's been around Tobias Harris, the guy plays. He shows up every night and plays. He is a guy that he's one of the first guys in the weight room. He's there early. He stays late. He watches film. He's a good teammate. And he got abused in Philadelphia by the media, by the fan base, because he made a lot of money and his production as a result, and look, he's playing next to some really high volume shot takers on those teams. His production wasn't what they thought a $30 million player should be. And then he had a couple of unfortunate, like no shows in the postseason. I totally agree with that. But I just felt all the time he was the easiest scapegoat in the world. Everything got pointed at Tobias Harris when things went wrong in Philadelphia. For him to end up in a situation like this and choosing to go to a young team that, won 14 games last year, and he is a big part of this turnaround, along with Beasley and Tim Hardaway Jr. and the vets they brought in. And, of course, obviously the emergence of Cade Cunningham. But the vets they brought in, the stability to their locker room and teaching these young guys how to be pros, I'm so glad that he's getting some recognition. And he had a great game yesterday. Not a good game, a great game. And he had really just a really solid season for them. He was fantastic. But I got a question for you, turning us back to the Knicks. If you think that you're going to win this series with that abundance of Jalen Brunson usage?
No.
I mean, where's Karl Anthony Towns? 10 shots? 11 shots? OG Anunoby, when Brunson was out for that stretch, averaged like 25 points a game. OG Anunoby emerged this year as like their third guy. OG Anunoby nowhere to be found yesterday. It was Brunson.
I love this take.
With occasional splashes of Mikal Bridges. That was their entire offense. If that's how they're going to play, with Brunson taking 25 to 30 shots and Karl Anthony Towns and Anunoby taking 10 shots each, they're in trouble, because the Detroit Pistons, look, Brunson will get numbers. The Detroit Pistons on-ball defense against Brunson, with the length and athleticism of these guys they can put in, are going to wear him down. I have a hard time believing he's going to continue to be like efficient going forward if he's taking 25, 30 shots. It's exhausting playing that way. So they've got to look at their offense, because to me, yesterday was about their offense. It let them down. It was better in the first game. They had better balance. Yesterday was all Brunson. If that's how they're going to play against a team this good defensively with this many elite perimeter defenders, the Knicks are in trouble. So let's see what they see in the film and how they get Karl Anthony Towns more aggressive and better touches in spots he likes it. OG Anunoby more aggressive, more included in the game offensively, because they don't do that. The Knicks aren't winning this series.
I love this take, because I felt the exact same way watching this game. When Brunson's on and he's cooking, he gets the numbers and it stirs the pot. He is the engine. He's the heart and the soul. But it's the same thing I was just talking about with Cade Cunningham, only in the opposite direction. And you mentioned Tim Hardaway Jr. I thought Tim Hardaway Jr. was horrible last night. He goes 0 for. He almost has his zeros across the board. He had 1 rebound, 1 assist. He played 21 minutes. Those were his only stats. Also a turnover. But when I say they went away from Cade Cunningham, Tim Hardaway Jr., that was almost like, hey, you go. Let's let you get going and do something else. And it didn't work. But to your point on the Knicks side, it's not Tim Hardaway Jr., it's Karl Anthony Towns. It's OG Anunoby. It's guys that you should expect to be able to carry more of the load. And it just didn't come. And I don't know if that's because of passivity from Karl Anthony Towns, because Tobias Harris was pushing him off his spots and getting into him, or if it was just Jalen Brunson trying to do too much. But there was a lot in the clutch where I just watched Jalen Brunson snapping his head back, getting into the paint. And it's not even that he was taking the shots. 27 shots is a lot. There were another 15 possessions where he dribbled it for 15 times. Nothing came of it. And he just hands it to somebody else to try to do something. So I agree with you. There is a balance, a healthy balance. He'll be a high usage player, but there's a healthy balance of how much he should press. And I thought last night, especially in the clutch, that was so far out of whack.
Well, and look, here's where they're differentiated. So here's what the Pistons need on a night-to-night basis. And it's not going to be, because it's not Karl Anthony Towns. They don't have another guy on the roster at that level. Okay. That guy, Karl Anthony Towns, he's expected, because of his profile in this league, he's going to make an all-league team, most likely.
Yeah.
Okay. Guys like that, you're expected 20, 25, 30. That's your floor is 20. Your ceiling is 30 and up, even in the playoffs. Yeah. If you're a guy like Karl Anthony Towns, here's what the Pistons have. They've got Cade Cunningham, and you need that out of him. And he didn't have a good shooting game in the first game. Didn't play as well as he normally. Still got, basically to like 20-point game. He was sensational in game 2. Okay, that's what your stars have to be some nights. Here's the thing, Adam. They just need on different nights, different guys. So who was it in game one? You got 39 out of Hardaway and Beasley in game one, and it put them in a position to win the game. They couldn't close the deal. Yesterday, those guys Hardaway didn't do anything. You mentioned his stat line. Beasley only had 9 points. He's their second leading scorer for the year. He had 9 points. Well, number one, Cade was great. And then where do they get it from? Dennis Schroeder steps up and gives you 20. So they've got a collection of guys. And it's really Beasley, Schroeder more than any others. As long as one of those guys plays well and Cunningham plays like a star, the Pistons are going to have enough because their defense is so good. They don't have to get to 120 in this series like you're going to have to against some of these teams. Like for the Heat to win against Cleveland, you better get 120 points to give yourself a chance. They're not going to do that. The Pistons don't need to do that in this series. They're going to keep the Knicks around 100. So they don't need a bunch of dudes consistently to go off. It's just, can two of you guys tonight play well? Cade's got the rest. That's their formula. For the Knicks, you need more out of Karl Anthony Towns. He's too good of a player to be that quiet in a game. That simple.
Yeah. 100% agree. And now this series gets interesting because I think, just like the next series we're going to talk about, Detroit could easily talk themselves into, we could be up 2-0, not just 1-1. They've played them well enough that you don't feel like this is a fluke. You don't feel like this is, they caught them by surprise. This is something where the Knicks have to adjust to the Pistons just as much as the Pistons have to adjust to the Knicks. And that's what makes it exciting. And Cade Cunningham is ready for all of it because that game looked like a regular season game to him, meaning that did not look like he was running faster, shooting more, or pushing outside the line. He played it exactly the way he wanted to play it because he can control things that much. I'm going to get reckless this offseason. If this continues, however long their runs go, I'm going to get reckless with how high I rank Cade Cunningham amongst the best players in the league next year.
I can see that coming already. I can see where your praise is going with this guy. Look, I don't blame you, man. He's really fun to watch. And there's a lot to like about him outside of his game, just the way he carries himself. I'm a fan of it. I just am. He's got a seriousness about him. He's got a calmness about him that is really important on a young team. And he's a young player too, but he's just got a maturity beyond his years and a confidence in his ability that showed up in a big way, man, on a big spot. I don't think they're coming back from 2-0 down. Like, you got to win 4 out of 5 against the Knicks. I don't think that's happening. Well, you've just turned this in now to a best of 5 series. Best of 5 series, okay? And you've got 3 of those at home. So the Pistons have stolen home court. And they should feel really good about their chances because of what just transpired in Madison Square Garden. I can't wait to watch Thursday night, and I can't wait to be in that building on Sunday for Game 4, man. I'm excited.
I've got one last thought on Cade, and I actually just want your opinion on this. He has added functional moves to his arsenal because he's not a quick burst player. He's not doing stuff. He doesn't have this like through the legs, behind the back, double shimmy turnaround. He doesn't have that. But what he has is these drives where he'll get off of one leg, almost a Dirk-like fall away, tough shots, but you could tell that he knows those are his shots and he's worked on them and he's so smooth at them. I see a lot of young players who work on things where I'm like, you might use that at best once a game, probably once every 3 or 4 games. And you clearly spent hours working on that one move. Cade seems to know where his time should go because he has tough skills that aren't necessarily the sexiest, but you're like, oh yeah, your game lends itself to that shot 2 or 3 times a game. And it's good that you've made that sort of what you're good at.
I totally agree. And right now, the one shot that he's fallen in love with that is really tough to stop is that semi-post up, hits you a few times with his shoulder, and that spin toward the baseline for that turnaround jump shot. There's not much you can do about it. Looks a lot like Kawhi Leonard, who I think we're going to talk about here in a minute. But I have one more point. I know that hurt. I have one more point on this game. And did I miss something in the game? Because I watched it live, and I rewatched a chunk of the middle of the game because I thought that's really when the Pistons were at their best. What's up? What happened with Cameron Payne? So Cameron Payne was like one of the big stories from game 1. He helped rescue the Knicks and win that game. He had 14 points. The crowd was freaking out over him. If anybody was going to be feeling good about themselves coming into game 2, it was Cameron Payne. He played 4 minutes. Like, what? Where does that come from? Now, I know he committed 3 fouls in a very short period of time. And I think his plus minus was -5 during that stretch of 4 minutes. Okay. he never took a shot. And like,
Yeah.
you don't, so it's obvious that Tibbs, like, there's no one else that he really trusts to handle the ball and create offense. It's all Brunson. But when you have a guy like Cameron Payne, and look, I'm not the biggest Cameron Payne fan by any means, but the guy played great in game one. You can't deny how great he played in game one. I'm just curious how that happens. A guy plays that well and you give him 4 minutes. And you only score 94 points in the game. Like, the guy gave you a spark. Maybe go back to him for another stretch in the second half and see if, hey, maybe he can, because you were down double digits a good part of that second and third quarter. I don't know, just a thought. I don't know if coaches sometimes overthink stuff, man. The guy just played great for you. Let him get a little bit of a rope here and let him play and see. 8-10 minutes, okay, he doesn't do anything, that's different. 4 minutes. Yeah. I mean, okay, committed 3,000. He just never went back to him. I don't know. I thought it was kind of weird.
We talked about him last game and you probably don't even notice, but as you talked about him, I kind of just agreed because he's not my guy either. Like, he's a guy. And so when he has a big game, I almost treat it as that's the one good game he'll have. And I suspect, I mean, Miles McBride didn't play a lot last night either. And you're talking about secondary creation, ball handling, what have you. I wonder if it's just a size thing. If they just know that there are players on that Pistons that if you get too small of a lineup, they'll be able to take an advantage of. You mentioned the 3 fouls. But my hunch is, I think you're right. He made shots. He should probably get a longer leash. But my other hunch is, if he played more, I think they would have lost by worse.
So all right, deal. I mean, I think that's just your overall feelings about Cameron Payne. And I think my feelings probably echo yours. I've always, and I mean, watching him shoot the basketball, I always feel like there should be a message on the bottom of the screen. Viewer discretion is advised, because you don't want young kids picking up habits because it's that ugly of a release. It's the most bizarre looking release. But he is a guy that feeds off of early game success. And he had it in game one. Like, he made a couple shots. Now run with it, and there's a good chance he's going to, at some point, he's going to take 2 probably really bad shots, and then you get him off the floor. They never really even let him be involved in the game when he played that well. I just thought it was kind of strange, man.
This series is great. Can't wait for game 3. I'm so pumped for it. It's among the best ones, probably the second best game in the playoff or series in the playoffs right now. The first best, that would be Nuggets versus Clippers, because this one is unbelievable. We're going to take a quick break. Legs might take a phone call. We're going to take a quick break. But on the other side, we're going to talk about one of the all-time great scoring performances that happened from Kawhi Leonard last night. We'll be back right after this. Let me tell you guys about FanDuel. It's giving away new customers a shot at $250 in bonus bets. Just join FanDuel today. You'll get started with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins, from 3-pointers to steals to assists. FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. Just visit FanDuel.com/AllNBA to get in on all of the playoff action. You could go right now if you're feeling really calm. I see some Pistons fans saying, I told you. I see some Clippers fans saying, I told you. You can hop on FanDuel right now and make a bet. The odds are not going to get better. If you're correct, they're going to win the series. They're not going to get better than right now, where you can bet on the series to close out in the favor of those teams, and you can cash in. Must be 21 or older and present in select states, or 18 plus and present in DC. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Also want to tell you guys about Lucy Nicotine. It's 100% pure nicotine, always tobacco-free, available in pouches, gum, and our favorite, the Breakers. Breakers are pouches with the capsule of liquid flavor inside that helps saturate the pouch. Breakers are available in 4 milligram or 8 milligram options, and they have flavors like mint, berry, citrus, and espresso. Pouches go all the way up to 12 milligrams, and if you're not a pouch guy or gal, you can try the gum, which is available in 2 milligram, 4 milligram, and 6 milligram options. Set yourself up with a subscription and have Lucy delivered straight to your door, so you have no more trips to the gas station. Level up your nicotine routine with Lucy. Go to lucy.co/allNBA and use the promo code AllNBA to get 20% off your first order. Lucy offers free shipping and has a 30-day refund policy if you change your mind. That's lucy.co and use the code AllNBA to get 20% off and always free shipping. And here comes the fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. This product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. All right, back here, segment 2 of the All-NBA show. And while this game was good, the other game was great. That was the Clippers going into Denver and bouncing back from a narrow loss in the clutch in game 1 and getting a narrow win in the clutch in game 2, 105-102. And they did it behind Kawhi Leonard's unbelievable historic performance, 39 points, 15 of 19 shooting. He missed 4 shots in the entire evening. It was absolutely dominant, and there's a lot of details to get in, but what's your overarching thought about how this game went?
Well, all right. So we're going to break down some of the stuff that happened in the fourth quarter because it's really interesting. But just to follow up your comment about Kawhi Leonard, I believe you're like 38, maybe you're late 30s, right?
I'm 41.
Oh, you're 41. Okay, I thought
nice.
you were still in your, you were still in your upper 30s. All right, so you're 41. So you're 3 years older than I thought. So basically, though, during Jordan's dominant run from, let's just say, 91 to 98, you were how old during that stretch?
I was 14 when Jordan retired. I was 14
Okay,
in
so
98.
basically, okay, so it was 8 years. So you're like basically the age of 6 to 14 while he was making that run with the Bulls. So my point is this, and I don't know how much you were into the NBA at that time, how much you were watching Jordan, or how much you watched him later on. What Kawhi Leonard did in that game yesterday was very Michael Jordan-esque. Yeah. Because for 2 reasons. One, everything he did was on his own. Nothing was facilitated for Kawhi Leonard in that game. Yeah, I guess a couple of threes maybe. That's it. Everything he did, he just did off a live dribble, getting to his spots. His precision with his mid-range jumper, his turnaround jumper, and you know, talking about 15 to 18-foot shots with guys draped on you, that was very Jordan-like, because that's exactly the area of the floor that Jordan was at his best. And he, same thing, man. They made more tough mid-range contested jump shots when it mattered of any player who's ever lived. Kobe Bryant would probably be next on that list. And you look at Kawhi Leonard at his best, he's in that category. He's that good offensively. That was mind-blowing what he did in that game. There's no other word for it. Because every shot, with the exception of maybe a couple of threes, were flat out contested. And they were just like, it's leaving his hand, and he's got no arc, first of all. His shot is a line drive. So that means there's even less margin for error. It's got to be even more perfect and precise when you don't have as much arc on the ball. It's a very flat shot, and it ends up in the same place every single time. It's very machine-like. When Kawhi's at his best, it comes off like it's an automated player. Like you know what I mean? Almost like a video game type of player. Yeah. Because it's coming off his fingertips and with this flat line with a guy on him, and it's going into the same place every time. It goes straight line, it hits the inside the rim, hits the back rim, and drops straight down. Like that's Kawhi Leonard. And it's over and over and over in a game with this much pressure and like this much attention defensively. You have to start there. What I hope everybody, I'm sure Nuggets fans don't appreciate it because they're probably sick to their stomach watching it. But everybody else that watched that game, I just hope you have an appreciation for what this guy just did yesterday, because that was absolutely incredible, man. Incredible.
And I mean, he missed 2 shots in a row in the fourth quarter, and I think he missed a third one in the fourth quarter, and you almost like were blown away that he missed them because he had made shots. First, second, third quarter, he misses 1 shot, and you're just watching it going, oh my God, man, this guy is getting him. And after the game, I agree with Nikola Jokic. After the game, he was asked about it, and he said, hey, what do you feel when you see Kawhi make so many tough shots? And he says, yeah, but I don't think they're tough shots for him. I know they are tough shots because they're contested, they're mid-range, they're off the dribble, but those are his comfort zone. And here's what I noted in this game. Denver does a good job trapping Kawhi and getting the ball out of his hands, especially in game 1 and in moments, especially in the clutch of game 2. But for the first half of this game, and especially the first quarter, they just were going to try to play him straight up. Kawhi knows he wants to hunt Jamal Murray, who's 6'5". He's just too small. His first 5 made baskets of the game, or first 5 attempts, because he made all 5 of them, were against Jamal Murray and ISO with no help. And to me, great shooters, if you allow them and say, hey, he knows he can get to the elbow against Jamal, he's too strong for him, and he knows he can elevate over him. Even if Jamal reads it perfectly, he can elevate over him and just get to his spot. You're giving a guy 5 practice shots. And it was actually more than that because he gets free throws too, but 5 practice shots to open the game. A player that caliber is perfectly in rhythm. And so that was one of my first notes is I don't think Denver can wait to trap Kawhi in the clutch. I think they're going to have to try to disrupt him early so he's not in that kind of rhythm.
There's no question about it. And even Adam, if you go to the fourth quarter of this game, some of the plays he made again were in single coverage. Yes. And I said to you yesterday, I believe it was yesterday. I don't think it was before the series looking at it. I think it was yesterday I said it. I don't think Kawhi Leonard's a good passer. Kawhi Leonard is not going to pick you apart with his passing. He's not Jokic. He's not LeBron. He's not Luka. He's not that. He's a good passer. And he made a couple of plays for people, particularly Norman Powell. He hit Norman Powell in a couple of cuts in the fourth quarter when he had drawn a couple guys with him to the wing area, and Norman Powell cut from the weak side, and he hit like a little floater in the lane. He had another pull-up jumper. Both of those were created by Kawhi, drawing two guys. But those are simple passes. If your scheme is better on when you hit him with the double team, and you're tightened up on the weak side, he's not going to make that pass that's undefensible. Like, he's not making the pass from the left wing to the opposite corner on a rope like Luka, LeBron, and Jokic will, where there's no recovery. You can't get there in time, and some guy's towing up a wide open three. He's going to make the basic pass out of the double team, and I think there's time to recover because of that. They elected too often to not do it. Or they did it and they weren't like on point with the weak side spacing defensively so they could get to Norman Powell or whoever it was on the weak side of the floor. You're going to have to. You can't allow Kawhi Leonard to have a rhythm first quarter. You just can't. You're in deep, deep trouble if that's what you're going to do. So I agree with you. I think the blitzes have to come earlier in the game. You've got to be much more selective about who ends up on him in a one-on-one situation. Hit him with more blitzes, force him to give it up. And you know what? If that means you swing the ball around and Norman Powell maybe gets loose on you a little bit in the first quarter, okay, guess what? You're going to be able to recover from that. If Kawhi Leonard comes out and goes 4 for 5, 5 for 6 early in the game with these one-on-ones, I got news for you. You got a problem for 48 minutes because he finds it early and he puts it on like, it's almost like literally he just flips a switch to autopilot. I'm dialed in now. There's not much you're going to do with me. So I agree with you. I think the strategy's got to be different in game 3. He's got to be priority number 1 at the beginning of the game. Totally agree.
And part of this is that the better Clippers player in game 1 was James Harden. So Denver maybe adjusts a little bit to say, okay, we're going to try to tilt things over here. Let's see if we can guard him straight up. And of course he did what he did. I think he made 11 of his first 12 shots. And at that point, there's just no stopping him. But Legs, we do this. We come on here, we give takes, we give opinions, we give perspective. You could say Steph Curry is a great shooter. And if he misses a game winner, somebody will hop in your messages and say, hey, I thought you said Steph was a good shooter, right? Well, I had this last night. Somebody's telling me, I thought you said Kawhi couldn't handle the double team. I think I stand by it. This was all about Denver's decision not to in this game, and that's what he went off of. But there were 2 times Denver doubled him in the clutch. One, they trap him up high. He throws a skip pass, I think, to Kris Dunn. Jamal Murray gets a fingertip on it. It goes out of bounds. Very nearly a turnover, but you reset the possession. The other one was one of the 3 or 4 misses that he had in the entire game. They double him. He takes a contested 3 over 2 guys and misses it badly. And so to me, Denver has to trap him with conviction. And this series is interesting because you have 2 guys who don't need guarded in the half court. One is Russell Westbrook and the other is Kris Dunn, at least on the perimeter. They, as in the Clippers, are using Kris Dunn to just fully play a blitzer. He's like a free safety blitz. Denver is cautious for whatever reason about leaving Dunn too open. And I look at it and I go, whoever's guarding Dunn, the Clippers are smart to put him as far away from the action as possible in the opposite corner. Ignore him. If Kris Dunn has to take 7 fourth quarter shots and he beats you, you tip your hat and say, let's go on to the next game. He took 1 shot in the fourth quarter in its entirety because Denver wouldn't double off of him for some reason in those moments. And I think to me, that's the easiest and most obvious adjustment is make Kris Dunn do what Russell Westbrook did in game 1. Make him take 7 fourth quarter shots and see what happens.
For sure. I mean, I think that should be an easy decision to do that. And you know what happens sometimes NBA teams will make the adjustment and they'll say, okay, I used to see this with PJ Tucker back in the day, whatever team he was playing for. Houston or whoever. And you'd go into the game and say, okay, you know what? We're not rotating to PJ Tucker. He can have as many corner threes as he wants. We're going to live with the results of that because the math says at the end of the game, the percentages favor us to double team Harden or whatever it was at the time. And then he makes two. And then it's like timeout. And then coming out of the timeout, it's like, okay, now you're playing PJ Tucker like straight up, like he's a legit threat. Now we are going to rotate because they don't have the conviction behind it. And one thing coaches don't like to do is come up with a game plan, have someone that you're daring to beat you, start to beat you, and sticking with it. They get embarrassed by that. So now it's like, okay, that's not a good idea. We're not even guarding this guy. We have to make the adjustment. And you don't stay with it long enough. So even my point being, even if Dunn hurt you with 2 or 3 baskets in the first 6, who cares? That's not going to sustain itself throughout the game. That's not why he's on the floor. Now, look, this is a good team, man. I mean, you got to look at it like this. James Harden is playing great, first of all, and he's capable of breaking you down on every trip. Then you've got Kawhi Leonard. We've already talked about it. This is one of the best isolation players of his generation and a clutch player. No, he's always been good in the clutch. Despite all the injuries he's had, the guy, one thing you can't deny, the guy shows up when the lights are bright. You know he's not going to be rattled by it. Then you got Powell, okay, who averaged 20 plus this year, who's capable of going off. And then you got Zubac, who, by the way, Adam, I start writing down names of centers in this league. I'm really curious to know how many centers in this league are you taking before Zubac? Because that list has shrunk dramatically.
Yeah.
Jokic, obviously. Well, yeah. I don't know. Do you consider Karl Anthony Towns a center?
Yes.
Okay.
We just watched Karl Anthony Towns give you 10 points. We just watched him give him 10
so
points.
You're saying so I'm saying a lot of people would say, wait a second, you're not going to take him over Towns. I agree with you. I think that's a debate. But okay, the guy's an all-star and he's going to probably make third team all-league, maybe, Karl. So you maybe say, how about Wemby? Is Wemby a center?
No, Wemby's not a center. He doesn't play center. He doesn't play center enough. He doesn't count. But Anthony Davis to me is, if you count Anthony Davis, I would take Anthony Davis over him. But because he actually plays a lot of center, he just doesn't like to play center. If you count Anthony Davis, I would take him over it. But to your point, defense is more important than offense from the center position, unless you are a super talent, a supreme talent like a Nikola Jokic. He gives you elite rim protection, pick and roll defense. And then offensively, he has all the tools to be a high level role player, not a guy you throw the ball to a bunch, but a guy who is part of a system and can convert when teams overload. So to me, he has no weaknesses and he has a super strength defensively.
He's just, he's so healthy, good, of course, man. Yeah. He's so good. Even the shot he made last night, which was an important shot in the fourth quarter, like he flashed from the weak side when Kawhi got doubled. He hits him right inside the foul line, and he shoots like a little one-handed, like half hook from like 12 feet. It's an incredibly difficult shot because he doesn't really have a jump shot at all. Everything is a push shot, a hook shot, or a layup or dunk. He never shoots the ball facing the basket unless it's a free throw, like a jump shot. He just doesn't shoot that shot ever. If he ever adds that, like a little bit of a pick and pop ability, my goodness. But as it is, he's top 5 centers in the NBA. And so look at all the talent, man, that the Clippers have. And they've got other guys that really defend around them. When you get Batum and Dunn, right? You get and Derek Jones, you get these guys out there. So this is a very good team. That all they were missing in the regular season to be considered a contender was Kawhi Leonard. And now they have Kawhi Leonard. So this is going to be, I said, I told you going in, I thought the Clippers were going to win the series. I'm not saying they are. Who knows? It's 1-1 with 2 great games. They could have gone either way. Could be 2-0 either way. But we'll see what happens now going to LA. But this is a really, really good team that's going to require your best defensive game plan against Kawhi. And I'm really curious to see what that adjustment is in game 3.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that's going on for Denver right now that is so tricky is that they have 3 players that are no question their guys. It's Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic. Those are their guys. Behind them, you have Christian Brown, who's off to a rough start in the series, not making any impact defensively on their key guys. So he's not a value add as a defender. And then as an offensive player, when you take out the transition, the Clippers are packing the paint. They're daring Denver to have these kickouts and nobody really wants to shoot him. So Christian Brown has been reduced. Michael Porter had a horrible first game. He had a very good, I thought, especially second half of this game. But of course, he had the crucial mistake. And then you have Russell Westbrook, who we all know is extremely unbalanced. His strengths are big, his weaknesses are little. So Adelman has to make decisions on not just how you play a full 48 minutes, but how do you play the key moments in there, and who of the two out of those three do you go with? And right now, Denver does not have a rhythm in the play. To me, there's a handful of plays of the game. Aaron Gordon's missed dunk, Michael Porter's turnover. The play to me was Jokic's turnover late. And if you look at that play, Jokic gets Zubats on the left block, and you have Christian Brown, you have Aaron Gordon in the dunker spot on the opposite side, Christian Brown in the corner, Russell Westbrook on the wing. That's about as bad a spacing as you can get in today's NBA. Three non-shooters on one side, and it allows to overload. And Jokic spins thinking he's going to have two guys, and it's a bad option. Neither of them are great shooters, but one of them's going to be wide open. But right as he spins, Christian Brown runs to Russell Westbrook and actually is touching him. And so Jokic spins, jumps in the air, and just makes a really bad pass right to Kawhi. But it shows you the pickle Denver's in. They don't have a five-man lineup that's going to space the floor properly, so they become a little easy to guard, and Jokic made a bad read on the spin move there.
I agree. That was definitely a bad read. It was just there's nothing worse in a tight game. And at that point, I believe it's they're down 37 seconds left when that happens. And there's nothing worse than not getting an opportunity to get the ball up on the rim or the backboard when in that situation. Yeah, turnovers are always bad. I mean, there's nothing bothered me more when I coached basketball than my team turning the ball over. But especially so in that situation, man. You've got to give yourself a chance to score by getting it up and also give yourself a chance on an offensive rebound. And so to turn it over in that situation is critical. But I disagree with that being the play. I have a different sequence. That to me was it.
Well, there were a lot. Let me hear which one you go with.
I'm going to go with this one. Tie game, minute 40. Kawhi misses a three. Michael Porter Jr. rebounds the basketball.
Oh, well, yeah, this is the one, yeah.
Can you explain to me, first of all, what was he looking to do up the floor? I don't understand why he was attempting to throw that ball ahead. There were two Clippers back. It might have been Jamal Murray. I can't remember who was up ahead, over half court, but there was no space. So it's almost like when the ball it was in the air, you sense as a defender when you might have a look ahead, right? Because you can just tell out of the corner of your eye that maybe someone took off and the ball comes right to you. You turn, you can fire it long. I have no idea what he was looking at up the floor. He starts to pass it, and then he tries to pull it back, but he loses the ball in the backcourt, dives on it, gets jacked up. Kris Dunn dives on top of him. He slams his shoulder into the ground, and then he lays there.
I've never been more mad.
He's holding his shoulder. He's wincing. He's looking up at the sky. Clippers get the ball back. They've got Denver now in a 3-on-2, and Christian Brown stops the ball. They make one more pass. I think it was Powell, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's Powell for three.
Norman Powell hits the three. Jokic is running out at him, but it's too late. And right when it happened, and I saw the replay, two replays of it, and it backed up what I thought. Jokic turns right after the ball goes through, and he's got his hands up, and he's looking at Michael Porter Jr. like, what the hell? But then he sees that he's hurting, and then Jokic kind of puts his arms to the side, and they both walk toward. I think they take a timeout right then.
Yeah.
Yeah, they took a timeout. So the timeout happens. Jokic and Michael Porter Jr. walked to the bench, and I didn't see them really interact or anything, but it was obvious that Jokic was so mad that not only turned it over, but then he laid on the floor while the Nuggets or the Clippers got off a wide open three. That to me was the biggest sequence of the game.
There's no question that one was. I mean, that was because I thought Denver had the game. On the secure rebound, Denver had momentum. They got a stop. That was the third stop, the third miss Kawhi had in the fourth quarter. So he's on fire this whole time. And you're like, okay, there it is. Now it's not a given that he's going to make the toughest shot. And you're going the other way with momentum, and to turn it over there and then to lay on the ground. But I have to ask you before I give my take, because I guess I've already tipped it about how frustrated I was. Michael Porter did not come out of the game. They come out of that timeout. He's still on the court. So I look at that and I go, if I'm his teammate and he turns it over in that moment and then lays on the ground, There better be a bone sticking out of your shoulder or something, or out of your chest for me to have. And I'm not saying he wasn't hurt. I'm just saying the entire game
Right.
came down to how quickly Denver could recover there. And he laid on the ground for, I don't know, 10 seconds going like this while they get a wide open three, and then didn't check out of the game. He finished the game. And so part of me goes,
Right.
how hurt were you for that moment?
No, it's funny. It's funny you say that because I thought the same thing. I actually was thinking to myself, where he grabbed, you're thinking possible dislocation or
Yeah.
tore his labrum, and he did take a shot. If you watch the replay of that, man, that was Kris Dunn's full body weight jumping on him and slamming him
Definitely
off the
hurt.
ground. So there's no question. There's no question it hurt. But if you don't have something that's going to prevent you from finishing the game, there's no way to justify laying on the court that long while the Clippers play on and hit a wide open three. I'm sorry, but that's just the nature of professional sports, man. If you're going to do that, you're right, Adam. You better have something that's going to prevent you not only from playing the rest of the game, it might keep you out the next game, whatever the hell it was. But
and he might actually be hurt.
A little bit.
He might. Yeah. I'm not trying to
we'll
downplay the fact that he was hurt.
Yeah. I know that. I'm not trying to like, call a guy soft. I'm not doing that. All I'm saying is, man, like whatever you were experiencing in the moment, it wasn't. If that's a shin, a tibia, an ankle, you pulled your groin and you can't really get up. That's your shoulder. You almost like you have to compel yourself. And he did, by the way. If you watch him, it's like he's laying there, he's kind of wincing, and then it's like, oh, damn, they got the ball. He gets up then quickly, but it's too late. The pass is made, the shot is made. Now, look, that didn't end the game. They're still at that point.
But it swung it so hard.
There's 90 seconds left, though. You're only down 3, and the very next trip, Jokic gets 2 free throws. So now you're down 1 with 1:16 to go. And then I think the second biggest play of the game, the ensuing possession after the Clippers timeout, deep into the clock, Kawhi Leonard makes that jumper, that fade jumper to put him back up 3. That was the biggest shot of the game. But
even that shot, though, Legs, because what happens is Jamal Murray's on him and Aaron Gordon comes over, and I think they're going to trap. It's the late game. Are you going to let Kawhi Leonard get an ISO on you? And it looks like they're going to trap, but then Jamal Murray recovers to Kris Dunn. And this is my point. You're down in a tight game, and you have a guy who desperately does not want to shoot it, and you have a guy who hasn't missed a shot all night, and they say, we got to get back to this guy who doesn't want to shoot the ball. I got to get back to him. And that's just where I say Denver's game plan in that moment. I don't know why you would give Kawhi Leonard a chance to completely cook Aaron Gordon, which he did. It was a great move, got to his spot and elevated. And was there any question the moment he got to his shot, Legs, that was going in with the night he had? That was a lock.
Completely agree with you, man. Yeah, but you still have to put that thing in. And Kawhi Leonard, give him a pat on the back because he did. But all right, now I want to go to the last sequence of the game. And it says on here in the play-by-play, it says, so Harden misses. They hold the ball deep into the clock. This is after the turnover by Jokic. Still a 3-point game. Harden's out at half court, holding it. He finally eventually misses. It says here, Christian Brown rebounded that ball. I thought Murray rebounded that ball before they pushed it up the floor. I thought Jamal Murray, maybe Brown got it and flipped it right to him. I don't remember.
Must have been.
But I thought Christian Brown was running the right side of the court and the ball came up like the left side. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought Jamal Murray rebounded that shot. My question for you is, I think there was about 11, 12, 13, 14 seconds, something like that. No, you got one timeout left. You cool with pushing it up the floor like that?
To me, you push it up the floor, see what you got. If what you have is Christian Brown taking a sidestep 3-pointer, you call a timeout. So I'm fine with pushing it because I think
here's where I disagree with you. And I understand the play on mentality, man. Sometimes. Here's where I disagree with you in that situation. You have one timeout left. You got Nikola Jokic on your team. Okay, I know I can trust him to make the right play in that situation. I'm not sure I can trust the rest of the guys on the court.
I know.
So my point is this. I want to control what the beginning of that action looks like. Okay. Because I've got Nikola Jokic on my team. So I want a timeout to make sure I maximize Nikola Jokic on that possession and everybody else is perfectly clear on what I want them to do. Whether you're looking for a three or you say, hey, 11 seconds to go, you might want to take in a second and a half, you can get a layup sometimes if teams are playing you for the three. Maybe take that quick one. 9.5 seconds left, down one, take the foul. Now you'd have to go length of the court the next time, but maybe you're only down two if they miss one of those free throws. Just so my point is, with that much time, you have an option. You can go for the three if you want, or you can try to get a quick two. But I definitely want to make sure that Jokic is the one that's going to dictate it. Doesn't mean he's got to shoot it, but his passing ability and the distraction he creates is so great that I'd want to make sure I orchestrate that in a timeout, that everybody understands what I want them to do, rather than just trusting that guys are going to do the right thing. Because I don't think that was a great shot by Christian Brown. Were you happy with that three? He kind of up-faked the guy, ran by him. How many times have you seen Christian Brown make threes going to his left off the dribble? Be honest. Most of the threes he makes.
I don't know if I have.
He doesn't make that shot. So that's my point. Like, he took it because he was fairly open, but that's not his game. A guy running by, now you go left with a dribble. He faded. He shot an air ball. It slammed off the backboard. Now they got one more look at it because they got the offensive rebound, and Jokic didn't get off a great shot at the end, lose by three. But I'm just saying, man, I don't know if I'm going to go ahead and just trust everybody to go ahead. Let's play this out down three. I don't know, man. Down two, maybe I'd feel better about it. Down three, it's so specific what you want to set up. I don't know. I think I would have handled it differently if I was Adelman.
I think so too. And I think Adelman would have handled it differently based on his post-game comments. I mean, obviously when you miss 2 threes as bad as they missed them, they were nowhere close on either of the options they got. You can second guess yourself. This series is great though. I mean, if you're the Clippers, you look back and you say, okay, Russell Westbrook made a big three. They grabbed a bunch of offensive rebounds in game 1. That was the difference. If you're Denver, you look at game 2 and say, we missed a literal wide open dunk from one of the best dunkers in the NBA in the clutch, which we didn't even talk about, but Aaron Gordon, a dunk with nobody on him and he misses it, was another inflection point. And then Denver just could not make free throws in this game for whatever reason. Just one of those games where they go 14 of 22, 63% from the foul line in this one. All of those are margins, but that's the series. The Clippers were up 15 in the first quarter of game 1. Denver cut it to 4 at half. Since that point, I don't think anybody's led by more than 7 points. It has been this close, back and forth. There's no runs in this game. When one team gets a stop, the other team gets a stop. When one team scores, the other team scores. It's a great series. I have a feeling a lot of these games are going to come down to the wire and who executes, and both teams have guys that can execute. So I think this is a really, really, really good series. Style fight, it's everything. It's got a lot of good stuff in it, and I think it's going to go at least 6.
I think every game is going to be exactly like these two have been. I just don't see either team running away from the other. I just don't. I think they're too good. Offensively, they've got stars that can control the action. And I just see all of these games being tight, man. It's going to come down to the big plays and the big moments, which we just covered in the fourth quarter. I just want to make one last point. I personally think people overreacting to the Aaron Gordon missed dunk. It's just a bit much. It was a 1-point game. That's only going to give you a 1-point lead. Okay.
Yeah. It's just a margin.
2 trips later, or the next trip, Jamal Murray hits a 3 to tie the game. So, you know what I mean? It's not like that's inside of 30 seconds. You got a lot of basketball left to be played.
Sure.
There's probably, I don't even know, 4 or 5 possessions each after that play. And you did get the game tied on the very next trip. So for me, I thought the play was that defensive rebound that Michael Porter Jr. tried to throw ahead, changed his mind, loses the ball, gets hurt. They hit a 3. That felt like, my goodness, the biggest gut punch of all happened right there. Because you're right, man. You get the ball tie game coming up the floor. You feel really good about half-court offense. Jokic gets the ball. He's going to do something with it. You make the Clippers play from behind in the last minute and a half. I don't know, maybe it feels different to them. I thought that was it, man. That 3 on that unfortunate sequence from Michael Porter Jr. was the game. And I think all of these games are going to have 2 or 3 moments just like that we're going to be talking about the next day.
By the way, Kris Dunn was phenomenal in this game defensively. He made some really incredible plays. And I thought Michael Porter was incredible in this game until that play because, he got benched in game one. He came back and grabbed second chance points, did some big stuff. It just was that play was so big. But somebody asked in the comments here, I don't know where it went. Do you think you could play Russ and MPJ together? And I actually think yes. They've gone to the two other options. I said there was three players. I actually wonder if Christian Brown is the guy that could come off. If Michael Porter can play and defend and rebound the way he did in game two, I actually think he might be the guy to finish alongside Russ, who gives you that energy and defense. And so that's something I wouldn't be surprised if Denver tried in key moments in this game. But it's a great series.
I like that.
It's really good. Yeah. It's really good. I like it. Somebody in the comments here says if you throw Jokic in the mid-2000s, he would be mediocre. What do you think, Legs?
Jokic would be a superstar in any era. I'm sorry. I don't understand the comment. That's just a person that doesn't like him.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. I just like calling it out because there's always some funny takes from people, and I just like.
Well, I also had a guy.
Oh, we lost you. Your mic cut out. Their legs.
Let me fix it. I want to make this comment. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now you're good.
People out there. There was a comment at the beginning of the chat. And I couldn't even go back and find it now because we've had a lot of activity in there today, which is great. Somebody said I was horrible on the broadcast.
On the call. I saw that. I saw that one too. Come on, Legs.
I got news for you. I wasn't on that game. So whoever you think sucks as a broadcaster, it wasn't me. Get your facts straight.
Get your facts straight, buddy. I saw that one too. And I was like, oh man, some people are just haters.
Broadcast of the game I didn't do. I love it.
It wasn't even your network, which is hilarious. That's it. If you're going to be a hater, man, if you're going to be a hater, do your research.
I got it.
Man.
No, I found it. It's Vin Ong. Vin Ong. Vin Ong, you are wrong.
Get out of here, Vin game. More like Vin wrong. All right, real quickly. Bucks Pacers tonight, Grizzlies Thunder, Timberwolves Lakers. I'm most locked into Timberwolves Lakers because I think that one's great. I'm least locked into Grizzlies Thunder, but what do you think of these three games?
Oh, what do we got tonight? So listen, have they said yet if Damian Lillard's playing?
He is. He's playing tonight.
So this gonna be it, man. That makes it super intriguing. Now, look, I think the Pacers are going to win the series regardless. Unless Damian Lillard somehow, man, can go. I don't know how long it's been since he played, but if he steps in to a role and looks like Damian Lillard at his best, the way Kawhi Leonard did after missing 40 games this year, as Barkley was talking about last night. If Damian Lillard can do that, hey, it's gonna be touch and go series. I think Indiana's gonna win anyway. But him coming into the series now, we haven't seen Damian Lillard in a long time, and he was talking all kinds of trash with Halliburton last game in street clothes. So that's made that very, very intriguing. I guess for me, it's going to come down to that. What does Lillard look like? How much of a difference can he make? Because Giannis needs a lot of help. It felt like he was taking on that team by himself in game one. Yeah. Kris Dunn, man, how do you recover from what Memphis looked like in game one? Down 57 points in the third quarter. I don't know what to expect of that game other than Oklahoma City is light years better than the Grizzlies. And if they're serious and they come out very, very, very focused, they're not going to have a problem winning that game. And then at the biggest game, man, without question, T-Wolves Lakers, man, those two superstars and JJ Redick under an immense amount of pressure. You go down 0-2 to this team, you go on the road, you're not coming back from that. I don't believe. So this is an absolute must win for the Lakers against a team that dominated you in the first game. I can't wait to watch that one.
That one's going to be in the pressure cooker. I can't wait. All right, give us a super chat, James. What do we got? Just one of them today. Connor says, healthy playoff Kawhi is a blessing for all hoops fans. Strong agree, man. He's a special player. So smooth too. I love footwork. I love guys that have mastered footwork because I know how hard it is. He makes footwork look effortless.
He's an incredible player, man. And I often think how much this league has been cheated and fans have been cheated by the injuries that he's had in his career. And whatever you think of Kawhi Leonard and missing all that time, some people, don't have a lot of empathy for injuries, whatever it may be. If that's how you feel, great, but whatever. The league missed out. That guy missed, if you add up the games, you're talking about 3 to 4 years of his career in his prime that we didn't get to see. And it's amazing when you watch it at that level. The guy is incredible, and he does it, and he looks almost bored when he's playing.
Yeah, it's true, man. He's so calm. I will say this. We have a deep dive from our guy, Mark Campbell. He is going to have a video on Kawhi Leonard from these first two games that you're not going to want to miss. A nice film study that's going to be up on our channel. So just another reason for you to be following the channel throughout this run. Everybody, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that like button. Leave us a comment below. Let us know what you think of the show. And stay locked, because while we are off tomorrow, we are back Thursday and Friday, and we will have some content up on the channel, including Mark's breakdown, which you're not going to want to miss. Everybody, thanks so much for hanging out. Enjoy the hoops tonight. Enjoy them tomorrow night, and we will be back Thursday talking and breaking it all down. We'll see you then.
All silly like the mayor.